to the world's most dangerous podcast. It's the recap with the GoodFellaz show. We in the building like we do every week, talking about everything that needs to be talked about. What's going on? It's your boy Tommy Guns, alongside my man Big A. What up?
What's going on? It's your man Big A. You know, I usually have some liquor, but this week the Chinese food did the number.
I'm sorry, he busted out with the Chinese food card. I'm sorry. Shout out to my man Big A in the building. Sean Montana, what up?
What up? What up? Still living that rock star life, and it's still cojones.
All right. Dav Noble in the building.
Yo, what's good? What's good? What's good? Oh, this is gonna be a good episode. I can feel it.
And of course, Heritage Hip Hop's own KofNY holding it down.
Love me and you know you do, and if you're mad, to hell with you. I'm here. Peace.
He got the slogans, man. I like that.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Salute to my man Sajin, aka Mayhem Media, behind the boards doing his production thing. So with that being said, we talk wrestling, we talked all types of stuff. Now we're getting to some music, but we're getting back to hip hop. We talked alternative joints early in the day. We bringing it back to the East Coast. We bringing it back to hip hop. We got some shit to talk about. Earlier in the week, Bobby Shmurda of throwing his hat in the air and never coming down fame was just released from prison after doing a couple-year bid. I couldn't tell you the exact number. And upon being released from prison, already certain people on the internet are calling him the King of New York. What? Which, if you're a hip-hop fan, an East Coast hip-hop fan, if you're any type of fan of hip-hop and you're over the age of like 17, you're going to feel a certain type of way about that title. So we're here. Shout out to everybody tuned in right now, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, watching us here at the Recap with the GoodFellaz show. If you're tuned in right now, we have a question for y'all. We got a couple questions, actually. But first things first, is Bobby Shmurda really the King of New York? And if he's not, is there a King of New York? And then furthermore, what does it take to be considered the king of any coast, any region? What does it take? Nowadays, it seems like you got a record on the radio and some TikTok love, and all of a sudden everybody's the King of New York. We got cats with rainbow hair talking about they're the King of New York. What's going on, everybody? We're here to address it. We are the GoodFellaz. So first things first, is Bobby Shmurda the King of New York? Big A, I'm going to throw the question your way. What do you think? Is Bobby Shmurda the King of New York, or is it just some 2021 craziness going on right now?
I mean, right now, for this generation, I can say yes. For this young generation,
what does that mean?
Like,
I don't mean to interrupt, but like I said, I don't mean to interrupt, but like one thing I've been seeing on the internet is cats like, yeah, for this generation, but like, what does that mean? Like one or two songs is considered king now, or?
I mean, for their who they look up to, the status quo. I mean, remember a year ago, a year and a half ago, it was 6ix9ine because of his influence, his street cred before he went to jail for snitching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this generation, they follow behind the next trend, so to speak. The only problem is the people they pick as being their king. I feel like my man from Black Panther. It's your king? Is this your king? Like every year, it's like, is this your king? Because it's not my king. It's not my king.
But we're not from New York neither.
Look at it. What?
We're not from New York neither. Ain't none of them our king.
We're not from.
Yeah, we can. We're from Jersey.
We're fans of hip hop.
Yeah,
we're fans of hip hop, though. We're fans of hip hop, and then consider somebody who's going to be a king. Somebody should be established. Somebody like Jay-Z. Somebody like Nas. I can see somebody like Fat Joe. Credentials, who has an archive, a lip. Buster Rhymes, even 50 Cent. 50 Cent, come on.
Yeah.
50 Cent put work in. But you got these young guys being called the king? Like, get the fuck out. Get the hell out of here, yo.
It's like the word don't mean nothing no more.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't show any respect. King. Look at what the word king, a monarch, somebody in a power position. These guys are young guys. Yeah, they have influence on these young people, but like from the crowds of 20 and up, like I can't see these guys being considered as the king of New York. Even look at Carell's face; he looks shocked. You know, look, the king of New York. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry.
Word.
It's just my opinion. My opinion is like, a drop in a bucket, but I'm just being honest.
Drop in the Chinese food bucket.
A drop in the low man bucket. All right, that's what's up. All right, so Sean Montana, is Bobby Shmurda the current king of New York? Is there a current king of New York? I mean, who's to say that there is a king of New York? What do you think, Sean?
I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be hard for anybody to be the king of New York right now.
Wow.
Which is sad.
They don't have. They're not the ones that's setting the trends no more. It's Atlanta. It's Memphis. Some of the top
even
hip-hop
Canada.
acts. Yeah. As far as King of New York, I mean, one thing that he gets a lot of respect for from the streets is he didn't snitch. He actually did something where he was supposed to get less time, but he got more time, and his homie got less time because of something he did. So that gets a lot of respect.
I'll put food on the table.
There's nobody really that was king of New York before, so it's like, why not? He's about to come in and step into a good situation, likely.
John, I'm sorry, I beg to differ. You mean when 50? I said I beg to differ. When 50 Cent was out there, 50 Cent was known as the king of New York. Still, 50 Cent he can still heckle and do things that is against the trend, the social trend, and still get away with it. That's like a king to me, bro. These young cats do it, they're gonna get canceled. So a king has rule. These guys don't have rule. They have trends. They have different trends.
But Big A, you have to remember something, and you know me, I'm a history buff. If you go back during the Dark Ages, there were kings, and kings switched. There was times where kings switched every few years.
True.
And different kings did different
getting
things.
killed by their own people, though.
Right.
A lot of times they were getting knocked out of their rulership by their own people because of different dumb things that were being done, either their rulership or their influence by other kings and other areas. My point is this.
I mean,
you guys are getting real Prince Arthur right now. Let's
keep it simple. Like, all right, what's like to me, like if you're going to be the king of New York, you got to have a run, you got to have some kind of longevity, and that longevity has to dominate the airways. So I mean, and you have to be that good to the point where, to me, like you're the king of, like, for instance, Jay-Z. During Jay-Z's time, I think Jay-Z could have a claim. I was king.
Absolutely.
Listen, dominated the airwaves. Everything he did, you know what I'm saying, was a hit. He was featured on stuff that was hits. He brought up dudes that made hits, like started a company, like that stuff that kings do. I mean, 50 Cent, same thing. I mean, shoot, B.I.G., Nas, like had, the Esco had Foxy Brown and all, like they brought people up. So to me, I think it's too much. I think you just have people just want to be, they want a title so badly. Like they want to be able to say, look at me, I'm important. Look at me, look at me, look at me. It's a lot of narcissist stuff. So to me, like Bobby Shmurda can't be the king. Did he make a iconic song at this point? Because to be honest, like, I mean, you could drop that beat now and it still go hard anywhere. That
iconic song.
Who's not in New York right now?
I wouldn't even say it's iconic.
So
hot, yeah.
Iconic in a sense that it's forever like Soulja Boy,
Superman at home.
Soulja Boy is an iconic song. It may not be iconic in the sense of like Walk This Way, but it's iconic because it ushered in like a type of music. Like I think it holds its own and it's recognizable anywhere. Like You had Asian kids doing that. So I mean, like, it is iconic in a sense for what it stands for. I think Bobby Shmurda's song, you can still put that song on and it will go hard. Mostly that beat is sick. And the song itself, it's one of those songs that it's standing the test of time. Does that make him the king? No, it just means that he put out a very, very dope song that he's gonna eat off on still eat off on, you know what I mean? And that's it. I don't know who else is really
my argument is because without him right now, there's an absence of who the hell is running New York right now. There's nobody.
Well, nobody's running New York. That's the point.
Right.
Sean, he wasn't running New York when he was rapping. He had a dope song, but there were still other artists. Like,
there were other artists. There's no other artists now. Who's running New York? That's my argument. Because
you know,
there's no other kings.
Canada is running New York right now.
Yeah, exactly. Kendrick Lamar, you know, this your boy Tommy Guns, right? I want to give my 2 cents. First of all, Bobby Shmurda is not the king of New York. He had one hot song, one decent song.
Bobby bitch.
I said one decent song.
No, that shit was hot.
That's a matter of opinion. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like, listen, we grew up with 90s hip hop. I'm not gonna say that 90s hip hop was the best hip hop, but it was the best hip hop. But you know what it is? Like, the king, we come from an era where Jay-Z, Biggie, Nas, 50 Cent not only had one hot song, not only had 2 hot songs, their whole album was hot. They had classic albums, multi-platinum recordings. They had groups and other artists who also popped off after them. Record labels, business deals.
The Locks.
Yeah.
Jadakiss is more of a chance to be a king than Shmurda.
Being a king, I think, and this is how sad the New York rap scene is that any little thing, and all of a sudden, you're the king of New York. Like, is that all it takes is 1 or 2 hot songs? I mean, damn. How many one-hit wonders in the history of rap could have been the king? You know, like, being a king means you've dominated an area for a significant amount of time. Like, you had a run, like a Jay-Z had a run, a Nas had a run, Biggie, like, you know, those are kings. To this day, I mean, you could argue that Jay-Z's still the king. He's just not rapping no more, you know, but, you know, like I said, you know, Bobby Shmurda had a hot, you know, let's say 2 hot songs. I'll give you 2 hot songs. You know what I'm saying? A couple years ago, it takes more than that, bro. You know, and the fact that New York hip hop is trash does not mean that just because the standards are lower doesn't mean that anybody can claim anything. I think 2020, 2021, we live in the era of trolling. Everybody's a star. Everybody's a king. Everybody's this. Like 6 months ago, 6ix9ine was supposedly the king of New York, which on the one hand is bullshit. On the other hand, it's just really bad for East Coast and New York music. Like, that's y'all king? Like Big A said, like, nah, man, it takes, you know, if you're around a couple years from now, all right, cool. Jay-Z had, what, a 15, 20-year run? Nas, you could say Nas was king several times. You know, he fell off and came back, knocked off, like, the competition, and then, you know what I mean, did his thing. You know, people who, you know, like, we live in the internet era where if you get enough streams, it'll count as a record sold. But there's OGs who sold records for real. And, you know, like, just because the talent level is less doesn't mean the standards have to also be less. Right now, there is no king in New York. Like, New York music is trash. Let's keep it 100.
I'm shaking his head, man. I'm trying to.
Yeah, New York music is trash. Like, honestly, Canada runs shit. Canada runs hip hop and R&B right now. Say what you want to say. But if you want to keep it in America, it's Atlanta. Atlanta is dictating the culture. They're directing it. They're, you know, that's where hip hop is.
That's rooted, bro.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yo, if you're not from Atlanta, you can't even be a king right now. New York is setting no trends. You just have a bunch of cats just try to sound like this cat. You know, that's my opinion about it. Karev, I want to hear your 2 cents. Bobby Shmurda, is he the king of New York? Is there a king of New York? How do you feel about it?
Once again, introducing the man that you love to hate, the Esquire of education and talk, the orator of hip hop connoisseurs, me. I'm going to say this to you now. I don't.
You gonna bust a freestyle? Or you gotta give us an answer.
I don't care. I don't care about the King of New York because I'm from New Jersey. Let's make that first and foremost.
Okay.
So New York could do what they want to do. I could give two shits. Now, if you want to know who the King of New York is Benny the Butcher or Conway. That's who the King of New York is right now. But because they're from Buffalo and not from New York City, they're not going to be included in the conversation. And if you want to say who's the hottest person in New York City that nobody talks about is Flea Lord. Flea Lord has some of the hottest stuff out right now. But because he's not Flea Lord is he works with Griselda. He did an album with Ito. Flea Lord is nice. He's from Queens, I believe. Flea Lord of all the newer people. As far as the king, as far as we talk about kings, Atlanta does not run music right now. The hottest territory in music is North Carolina, because that's where all the money's coming from. Everybody's running to Earth Gang and J. Cole and them for that. Atlanta has nobody that's number one in the game right now.
Nobody's running to Earth Gang before the Atlanta artists. I'm sorry.
Like who? The only Atlanta artist that could come out right now pop on a high level is Migos.
Nah, right now, if we're gonna talk hip hop artists, I don't particularly care for. Lil Baby runs circles around all them cats. If we're talking from the West Coast for newer artists,
he's in the West Coast, right?
No, he's in Atlanta.
Atlanta? Okay. Well, I will tell you this:
Control records with like the Migos.
The Baby is from North Carolina, and he's arguably number one in the game. Like I said, either way, the bottom line is it's not from New York, because New York don't even support its own artists. So Bobby Shmurda to me is hot cause off a reputation. And shout out to the real ones who held him down when he was in jail. That's what he's hot off of. Pop Smoke would have been the king of New York if he stayed alive, because then they would have had a Pop Smoke, Bobby Shmurda type collaboration to put them two together. And that would have been the new conversation. If you ever talked about the king of New York, remember New York always has to have 3 MCs that fights for the crown of New York. That's how they always set it up. Whether it was Grandmaster Caz with Melly Mel and Kumo D at one time, to KRS-One, Coogee Rap as an honorable mention, Big Daddy Kane and Rakim, to Nas, Biggie, and Jay-Z. Then it was 50, Jada, and who else? I don't remember because that era's dead.
Cam.
You could have got to Cam.
Yeah, because Dipset had a monster movement that everybody's still trying to make over. And today, who would be the top 3 MCs in New York? The sad part is, if you think about it, all you're going to think about is the people we name: Nas, Busta Rhymes, Jay-Z, Jadakiss, Styles P, who doesn't get respect as he should. You can even put Jim Jones in there having a run of credible art and music. You know what I'm saying? So as far as the new generation, I don't think the new generation has an appreciation of what the hip hop culture is, because they don't understand hip hop culture. They just know how to make music and sound. I always ask this question of heritage hip hop: what's the difference between a song and a track? A lot of people are making tracks. We don't have a lot of songs. And then if you don't have enough songs, you can't make a good body of work. And if you can't make a good body of work, you can't tour. And nobody wants to sign or listen to people who don't remember their lyrics and rap over their own lyrics. So there is no kings right now. It's who's jockeying for position. And the one person who's jockeying for position is CJ. He has the song Whoopity. CJ has OGs and people in the game that's behind him. So he's at look, put it like this. Pop Smoke got co-signed by 50 Cent to get his album out. That's a major move. Unfortunately, he had to die to get it. Bobby Shmurda's getting co-signed off of Reputation and 2 songs. So we don't have a body of work to say, okay, he's the one. 6ix9ine is 6ix9ine. At the end of the day, he's a genius. You
can't be a rat and the king of New York at the same time.
Exactly. But as far as the music goes, as the music in the music business, he's a genius. As far as an artist, he's an ass. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing I can say. And the one thing I like about CJ is because he has mainstream artists co-signing him and co-signing his album to come, we have something to look forward to see if he could jockey for that position. There's many kings, but there's also many clowns. So are you the king of clowns, or are you the king of your era? A lot of people don't even understand what an era is. Salute to the people who make music and projects. Heritage Hip Hop Awards coming soon. Stay at 16.
So Big A, what does it take to be considered a king of anywhere, any region, anytime? What are some of the qualifications? We've just talked about why we do or do not feel Bobby Shmurda is the king of New York. What does it take to be a king?
In my opinion, honestly, to really be a king, to really sum it up real quick, you have to establish yourself. You have to have not just establishment, influence, and you have to have some type of longevity, something that people can respect. You have the body of work, or at least a body of something that can produce to show you are either an influence, a helper, or something of a level of greatness. And these people that you're naming, unfortunately, in my opinion, hasn't attained that yet. They may have had influence on the young generation, but as a whole, to really be carried that name of a king of anything, even the king of Atlanta, is still, I still consider Little John the king of Atlanta. You know what I mean? This man put on a lot of people and helped a lot of people in general. Outcasts, they're kings out there. These are people that established themselves from their area and did more than just have one song. They had influence. They helped people. They did their own career. That's considered a king. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
that's my answer.
Because anybody can be hot for 6 months or a year. If you're hot for a decade, then you're doing something. Dav Noble, what does it take to be considered a king in hip hop?
I agree with everybody else said. I mean, I said before, it's just longevity. You got to have longevity. You got to be in a position to dictate the next trend of music. You got to be able to have people really emulate you because to real any king in any run has spawned like a generation of people that have tried to basically emulate them because they've had their run for so long.
Yeah.
And they say that like that's the biggest form of flattery. It's like, so if you have, like, there is no standard voice in New York music.
Yeah.
There is no per se king, but there, like you said, like Karev said, there's a bunch of people who are trying to get to that point where they are that standard voice in New York. They are that standard, sound that whenever, you hear one of their tracks come on, it's you're waiting for that. You're waiting for those albums. I don't think anyone, I don't know if anyone's popping out in terms of New York music right now that you have to hear their song. You have to hear that track because it's going to be fire.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
you can't wait for the album.
Yeah, and this is the thing about Jay-Z. I saw he had a song with the Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack that came out. I saw he had a song with Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah,
and I skipped every other song on that entire album, and that's the first song I listened to because I wanted to hear Nipsey Hussle and I wanted to hear Jay because I knew Jay's gonna go off, and Jay went off. So to me, that is kingdom. You can still drop an album or you can still drop a song on a soundtrack and it be still one of the hottest songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah. If Drake drops a joint or Kendrick Lamar, you're going to skip everything that you're doing. You're going to check that song out. It is what it is. That's what's up. That's a dope answer. Sean Montana, what does it take to be considered a king of anywhere in hip hop?
Just being the man at any given time. Because like I was saying, you go back in history, kings didn't always last 10, 20 years. Some kings lasted a couple years, but they were king. You have kings that you might never read about, local kings. Right now, New York really lacks a king. So if Bobby Shmurda comes out and does anything significant, he can be the king. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's like any real, like right now, who's the king of New Hampshire? You're gonna have to go to the local rap scene over there and find out who the top rapper in New Hampshire is because they don't have one.
So if nobody knows, then there's not really a king.
Well, there's a king. There's just one you don't know about because, like I said, there is a New Hampshire. I'm sure they have a rap scene. Whoever the hell the top rapper in New Hampshire is right now, that's the king of New Hampshire. Right now, New York has nobody worth talking about at the moment. So it's not hard to be in New York.
I hear what you're saying.
In my opinion, like I said, we've all mentioned it, but first of all, you got to be consistently hot. There's been a million one-hit wonders, and if you only got a couple, like one or two hot songs, you're just a one-hit wonder. Maybe the king of the one-hit wonders, but you're just a one-hit wonder. You need body of work. You need classic albums. I don't care what nobody. Yeah, we live in the digital age where streaming and downloading is a thing, but nah, man, you got to come with some albums. You got to come with some heat. Like when they mention even today, that amongst the younger generation, the Drakes, Kendrick Lamars, and J. Cole's, they have a body of work where they're consistently put in the conversation. Whether Kendrick Lamar drops an album, like he hasn't dropped the album in 2 years, but he's in the conversation today when somebody brings up who's the best out. That's king. Like, you know, you gotta body of work. You gotta actually, you know, be somebody that influences a region for a certain period of time.
Because if you're not king, what'll happen is what happens to most kings is if you don't claim your territory, somebody else will claim your territory. Yeah. That's why you have the majority of New York stations playing music from people that are not from New York.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't agree. Like, people use the word king too loosely. Same thing with legend. Nah, everybody's not the king. Like, you the man. When you the man and you run shit, you're the king. Just because you're the hottest where you're at, it don't matter. Like, nobody cares what's going on in New Hampshire. If you ain't running shit over here where it counts, it don't matter. Biggie ran shit. Jay ran shit. Nas ran shit. You want to say Drake, cool. Like, whoever your particular choice is, they impacted the culture. Not for 6 months, not for a year, almost a decade. You got to have time in, man. If you running shit for 6 months, were you really the king, or just somebody talking shit that somebody knocked you off your spot? That's just how I feel about it. You know what I mean? For Bobby Shmurda, drop a couple albums, drop a couple more singles before you can even be in that conversation. And New York, step your game up, because 6 months ago you had a rat supposedly as your king. New York, yo, just do better, yo. It's like talking to your friend who consistently gets dumped and cheated on and played out by whoever. Yo, step your game up. Nah, man, you know what I'm saying? Yo, it's your fault. New York, it's your fault. Stop putting up with this bullshit, man. Go back to setting trends, making people think New York is the shit, man, because nobody's seriously taking New York as a region seriously in music or hip hop culture. And let's keep it 100. That is what it is.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is West Side Gun the king of New York?
New York State.
I don't think New York has a king. West Side Gun is dope.
So that's a no.
No, there's no king in New York right now.
It was Sean Price the king of New York?
Never.
So then the last king New York had was Nas.
I would say Jay-Z and Nas are still, you know, depending on your standards, still run shit. Except Jay-Z is now the king of other shit. It's still urban culture. He'll drop a hot song when he feels like it now. But it is what it is. Guys, unfortunately, we are all out of time. We've been talking the king of New York. Who is the king of New York? This is the recap with the GoodFellaz podcast. Hit us with a comment, suggestion. Let us know what you think about this topic. We want to hear your feedback, but unfortunately, we out of time. So until next week, peace.